As a trial program, it's important to know the risks and benefits of the proposal. The following is a detailed assessment of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of cradle to cradle fashion. The SWOT analysis reveals numerous environmental reasons associated with changing the end of life cycle and additional economic benefits of this change. The weaknesses and threat portions discuss a more in depth understanding of the project's impact due to COVID-19. Textile recycling is not new to all brands. As we discussed in the alternative waste diversion section, Patagonia has had a renewed line that has been very successful over the past few years. As a member of SAC, a founder of the coalition, and a leader in the eco-friendly apparel, Patagonia is willing to partner with those brands that want to do good. One of the most significant strengths of this project is the partnership between brands. Over 250 brand members who have committed to sustainability is a huge strength because it shows the willingness to work together. SAC is a tremendous resource to those brands and the leaders of the label. As the age of sustainable fashion rises, sustainable clothing lines and programs are growing in demand. Numerous brands have created their own eco-friendly lines of clothing that reuse materials or recycle plastic bottles to create a sustainable item of clothing. The problem with this model is that most of the materials used, such as the plastic water bottles, should not be used for clothing. And this actually creates a completely new and much worse problem for washing clothes and their own environmental problem. Secondly, these products often are as expensive, if not more expensive, than their regular line. Companies are looking for the next big thing in the industry, need to make sure that these lines are at least the same price, if not less, than their regular clothing. One of the most worrisome weaknesses is the novelty of the textile recycling world. Although the need for the textile recycling is high, the technology is complicated. There are only a few companies, such as EcoNile, that have made durable and wearable products. A McKinsey and Company article says that when it comes to disposing of clothing, current technologies cannot reliably turn unwanted apparel into fibers that could be used to make new goods. Recycling methods such as shredding or chemical digestion work poorly, and there are not markets large enough to absorb the volume of material that would come in from recycling clothes. This is a fairly unexplored part of the fashion world, so those brands investing in this program are taking a risk. EcoNile and Evernew are still in their infancy, but have made monumental strides to produce sustainable products. The opportunities this program presents are truly endless. In the true fashion of sustainability, the opportunities are environment, ethical, and economic. The most significant environmental opportunity is reducing textile waste. There are numerous environmental opportunities, but in the interest of time, I will just go over the two major points. As the fashion industry becomes more lucrative, the clothes consequently become less durable, thus increasing the turnaround time of that item. According to the EPA, more than 15 million tons of textile waste is generated each year in the United States, and that amount has doubled over the past 20 years. Researchers predict that that number will only continue to rise in the age of fast fashion. According to the UN Partnership for Sustainable Fashion, between 2000 and 2014, clothing production doubled with an average consumer buying 60% more pieces of garments compared to 15 years ago. The clothes that slowly decompose in landfills create methane gas, which is one of the most powerful greenhouse gases that is burning through our ozone layer. Reducing textile waste goes all the way back to extraction process. Cotton shirt, for example. One of the most popular meanings for clothing, cotton is an extremely thirsty crop grown natively in countries with tropical climates. According to The Story of Stuff by Annie Leonard, cotton has a total global production at more than 25 million tons per year. That's enough to make 15 t-shirts for every person on Earth. Cotton is an overworked and overharvested plant which has destroyed farmlands around the world, and is also exceedingly harmful to those who harvest it. According to the Pesticide Action Network's Organic Cotton Briefing Kit, in India, 91% of male cotton workers exposed to pesticides 8 hours or more a day experience some type of health disorder, including chromosomal aberrations, cell death, and cell cycle delay. Reducing the amount of cotton needed for fashion factories will have a great environmental and ethical impact. Growing cotton is not just depleting the quantity of water, it's also damaging the quality of the water that remains. There's less water overall, and what remains is increasingly polluted by the agricultural chemicals. Environmentally and ethically, there is an opportunity to lessen hardships. The biggest opportunity, in my opinion, is to improve the life of the fashion factory workers. Decreasing the demand for newly made clothes means the workers will have a shorter production quota and hopefully reduce the time that they have to spend in the factory. Factories continue to be extremely unsafe for workers, even after huge disasters in Bangladesh, specifically. Author Dana Thomas has traveled to the world's fashion capitals and records interviews from fashion factory workers in her book Fashionopolis. She states that between 2006 and 2012, more than 500 Bangladeshi garment workers died in factory fires. However, the deadliest garment factory accident of modern history was the Rana Plaza factory that collapsed in 2013, killing over 1,100 people and injured an additional 2,500. Unfortunately, these accidents continue to happen due to lack of safety precautions and simple fire evacuation routes for workers. Working off of the idea of creating a better life for those factory workers, there is also an opportunity to create new jobs. As I said before, in the event of a successful pilot, SAC has the opportunity to expand the program to all of its members. With the extreme volume of clothes that would enter the stream, the next step for SAC would be to invest in its own textile recycling plant. This factory could be in the US, or they could decide to bring it to Bangladesh and ensure that these people have safe and clean working conditions and are contributing to a cleaner environment in their backyard. A McKinsey and Company article, Style That's Sustainable, found that in 2016, the Walmart Foundation awarded grants of nearly $3 million to 5 U.S. universities to support research on improving the sustainability and efficiency of textile recycling. There are a few big names in the fashion industry that want the answer to circularity, and they are willing to invest in this research. Which brings me to the economic opportunities. Businesses can look at cradle-to-cradle fashion as a long-term economic investment. Research shows that secondhand clothing markets have become more popular and profitable in recent years. Secondhand stores, such as Cradle, sell individually donated clothes for an almost 100% profit to that business. Forbes article states that apparel resale revenues expected to more than double from $24 billion to $51 billion in the next 5 years. These secondhand stores thrive off of the brands that are donated, bringing the money and materials to a third party rather than bringing it back to their own store. This article then goes on to say that brands without a return option are still operating under the outmoded 20th century sale per square foot or click metric, rather than what the means of the most 21st century, the lifetime value of a customer. By not offering a way to recycle, trade in, or repair clothes, brands are forfeiting a chance to gain an experience with a customer who could become a lifelong consumer. There are also economic opportunities for the brands involved in this program. Cradle to Cradle Fashion is an incredible opportunity for SAC to connect to younger buyers who have a high interest in sustainability. As the fashion industry's evils continue to be exposed, younger generations, particularly young millennials and members of Generation Z, are encouraged to support sustainable businesses. A recent Guardian article predicts the downfall of fast fashion. The author states if Generation Z habits are adapted by the population as a whole, there could be a shift to consumers with divided wardrobes, featuring rented items and others bought from resale vendors, becoming a new normal. The research carried out on the behalf found that polling from the pandemic, 28% of people are recycling or reusing more clothes than normal, and 35% of women intend to buy fewer clothes in the future. Generation Z is one of the most informed and inquisitive groups to ever walk this planet. They are leading social justice reforms, such as gun reform, police brutality reform, and above all else, climate change. It would be foolish not to recognize the changing tides of consumerism and market to them in a transparent manner. Sustainability will continue to be the deciding factor in where young people spend their money. This is a consumer habit that is unlikely to fade with age. To further prove this point, analysts at Sustainalytics consider slow fashion, which is the opposite of fast fashion, where garments are created with sustainable materials to fit to last longer, a top 10 goal of 2020. The analysts say that beyond social and environmental risks, the fundamentals of the fast fashion model have also been called into question. Since American Apparel filed for bankruptcy in 2016, several big brands have been on their heels. In 2018, H&M inventory accumulated to upwards of 4.3 billion, outpacing sales and leading to the biggest drop in their share price in 13 years. In July of 2019, investors' confidence in the U.S. apparel was further shaken when the year-over-year share prices for Nordstrom, Macy's, and JCPenney plunged by 40%. In the chart here, you can see numbers based on a McKinsey survey of people in the United States that found that 66% of all respondents say that they consider sustainability when making a luxury purchase. Only a minority of the group say that they are willing to pay a premium for sustainable products, but over 30% of Generation Z segment say that they are willing to pay more. The numbers presented in this section are overwhelmingly in favor of a more responsible business management. A great way to entice consumers is investing in the environment. While there are a plethora of opportunities, there is always threats to the success of the program. I have found 3 major threats to this program. The coronavirus pandemic has presented a major threat to companies around the world. The pandemic has caused major delays in the production and shipment of clothes. And researchers say that transparency in the post-COVID-19 pandemic might very well become a strategy forward to rebuild the eroded trust in brands and retailers. The global shutdown has affected almost all phases of the fashion model, pushing meetings and important discussions about sustainability and corporate social responsibility to the back burner. Many manufacturers are using more plastic than ever before in order to ensure safety to their staff and customers. The idea of used clothes and recycling is not really a comfortable topic right now. Realistically, COVID-19 may pose the biggest threat to this project. Another threat to this program is the lack of availability of textile recycling plants. As I stated in the weakness section, commercial textile recycling is new. Therefore, there is few recycling plants. The Ecological Society of America states that barriers to large-scale textile recycling includes a dearth of municipal collection programs, in contrast to the many that exist for paper, glass, and plastic. Almost 85% of discarded clothing ends up in the trash. The lack of recycling options is not an immediate threat, as for all 4 options presented in this proposal have their own factories and sites. This is a longer-term threat that will have to be reevaluated after the 6-month milestone. As the global population grows, so does the demand for clothing. Although the increase in demand leads to an increase in supply, this is not ideal for companies that want to reduce their carbon footprint. Another McKinsey & Company article states that global demand for clothing looks set to increase significantly over the coming decade, as millions of people in developing countries enter the middle class and spend more money on apparel. While this presents a tremendous opportunity for the fashion companies, it may be a risky one for companies that choose not to grapple with the social and environmental risk. The increasingly large demand for textiles present a threat to the production process. There is a risk of overwhelming the sites with too much textile, and as the program develops, the risk will be mitigated by the trained workers. The Sustainable Apparel Coalition is the bridging partnership that brings together over 250 brands from around the world. As the population grows, the apparel industry is faced with higher demand that brings danger to the planet. The traditional linear model is no longer a viable option for clothing brands. Cradle-to-cradle fashion presents an opportunity for few brands to invest and the benefit from a circular economy. There are 4 different routes that brands can take, and the first is working with Patagonia and following their Worn Wear program. The second is working with the textile recycling industry giant, Econile, that accepts textile scraps, and the third is a smaller business named Evernew that works on recycling clothes from scraps as well. The final option is introducing a tailor to your brand that can fix and uphold garments, so they never have to leave their owner. All of the options reduce textile waste, which is a huge greenhouse gas emitter. There are numerous strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to investing in a program such as Cradle to Cradle Fashion, but the opportunities far outweigh the risk. This program can be looked at as a long-term investment in loyal customers and a more sustainable label. Thank you so much for your time, and I really hope that you invest in this opportunity and that you give it a chance. Thank you.